So you probably heard the news. The planned reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer was officially canceled. And while a lot of fans were pretty bummed out, some people were actually celebrating. So what's that all about? In this explainer, we're going to dig into one specific argument that claims the reboot's failure wasn't just good news, it was pretty much inevitable.
Okay, so you've got two totally different reactions, right? On one side, there's the original star, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was sad to hear the news. But on the other, you have our source for this breakdown, YouTuber Heel vs. Babyface, who called it absolutely fantastic. I mean, wow, how can two reactions be so far apart? Well, according to him, the answer all boils down to a single theory.
And that big idea is what he calls the connective tissue theory. He's basically arguing that projects like the Buffy reboot are just doomed from the start because they're missing this crucial ingredient. So the big question is, what on earth is this connective tissue?
All right, so for our source, connective tissue isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling of nostalgia. Nope, it all comes down to one person, Joss Whedon. The argument is that Whedon's unique voice, that super snappy dialogue, his world building, the characters, that's the essential recipe. And if you take him out of the equation, the whole thing just doesn't work. So why wasn't he involved? To understand that, we kind of have to take a look at his career.
And man, Whedon had a remarkable rise. He started out writing for huge hit sitcoms like Roseanne, then went on to create this whole string of beloved cult classics that so many people still love today. He eventually reached the absolute peak of Hollywood, directing Marvel's first massive Avengers movie. But according to our source, the big turning point was his involvement with DC's Justice League. That seems to be what marked the beginning of his public downfall.
The source points to several factors that he says led to Whedon becoming what he calls a pariah. He brings up the onset conflicts during Justice League, the very public accusations from actor Ray Fisher, and a cultural climate that was heavily influenced by the Me Too movement. He also puts forward a theory that some people saw Whedon as a convenient target to help elevate their own careers. So, with Whedon completely out of the picture, the focus then shifts to what was being created without him.
So if the connective tissue, Joss Whedon, is gone, what's left? Well, according to the YouTuber, the problems were pretty obvious right there on the page, in the script itself.
So what was actually in the script that sparked all this criticism?
Okay, check this out. Here's a line that's allegedly from the Reboot's pilot script. For our source, this isn't the witty, character-focused dialogue you'd expect from Buffy. He claims it sounds like, and I'm quoting him directly here, a broken feminist from the year 2026. He sees it as proof that the new show is being built on a fundamentally different sensibility, and to him, a much worse one.
And this really gets to the heart of the contrast the YouTuber draws. He argues the original Buffy was about good characters and just great storytelling. The reboot, in his view, was the product of what he calls a politically ideological broken Hollywood that he believes can only destroy classic shows by injecting them with so-called woke ideology.
This all builds up to the source's final, much broader argument. It's not just about one show. It's really about whether it's even possible to recapture the magic of any beloved older property in today's cultural climate.
To support this idea, the source pulls out a really surprising piece of evidence, a quote from feminist critic Anita Sarkeesian. Now, he makes it very, very clear that he sees her as a fraud and as someone he is 100% not aligned with. But he highlights her tweet to argue that even his ideological opponents agreed that rebooting Buffy was a bad idea. He suggests it's a rare point of consensus across a really divided cultural landscape. And all of this leaves us with a fundamental question, doesn't it? Is the magic of a show, its connective tissue, forever tied to its original creator and the specific moment in time it was made? Or can these stories truly be reimagined for a new generation? As this whole debate shows, the answer is far from simple.